I just bought a bunch of returns and Overstock PC components. Let's try them out. This time, we might try out some motherboards. This one looks like he's gonna need a little work. Let's try something else. This motherboard would probably be the most exciting because it's the most expensive one that we have. Even though this is Z690, it is still a $900 board. It used to be $1,100. As you can see, it's definitely been used, and we do see some issues right here. We are gonna fix those bent pins. This seems like it's totally fixable. To fix this motherboard, we're using the ESD15 tweezers. They can be found on Amazon. They are super sharp. Holding the camera and doing this at the same time, which is a little difficult. We're getting closer. We're just trying to lay this guy at the tip down. The problem is you have a bend in the middle, and then you want to get this bend in the top. So the key thing is, you see the little ball tips on the end? That's what matters most. It's not necessarily what matters about the bend in the very bottom base of it. You want to watch where the tips are placed. At the end of the day, talk is cheap. Put a CPU in there. Let's see what we can do. Let's add some RAM, hook up some power, and see what happens. All right, so we're going to need to find some DDR5. DDR5, let's make it light up. 12th gen CPU. All right, now we're putting in the CPU. All right, we're gonna need a tester graphics card. This will do. Tester graphics card going in. Motherboard power going in. CPU power. Power to the GPU. Now plugging in display. Plug in our fan. Press the start button. We're getting the 00 CPU error. Let's reseat that and try it again. So exciting. After finagling with this thing, I've continuously actually got this thing to finally boot. Just in case you don't believe me, check that out. Fragile. So this is a Lee & Lee 011 build. It's got some damage on here, but let's see if we can make it work. Well, whoever put this back together does not know how this works. All right, let's just see what we have inside. So checking the build out for the first time, we have a used build. You can see all the dust buildup, but overall it is not cheap. This is a 4070, got lots of Corsair fans. I mean, between that and the AIO, you're looking at a few $100s just in fans. And we have an X570 Aorus build. So let's check out to see what's wrong with this thing. Plug up the GPU, plug in the PSU. I mean, just if this power's on and most things work, I mean, this is gonna be a steal over price on this thing. That might be the problem. And, oh, yes. All right, so off the rip, we have the power on, power off. We're gonna see if it's memory training. If not, we're gonna have to dive in this bad boy and see what's going on. All right, so after letting this thing boot up for a bit, we did get this. Computer cannot, oh! So off the rip, I'm gonna say this is probably bad. We're gonna do a few things to try it out, but when you see signs like that, usually GPU die is dead. I did just notice, so it was probably dropped. You can see that. This might have actually cracked the board. Since we're already having issues with this, let's just swap it out to a known working GPU to see if we can get something going. Release the mounting bracket right here. Throwing this guy in here since we know it works. Connect a little power to the guy. Give him a little HDMI love. Let's try this again. Right now we're gonna reboot. Spam the delete button. That way we can try to get into the BIOS and see what's going on here. What's good is you can actually delete the SSD and wipe it from there. All right, so we're actually in the BIOS. Let's see if we can delete this SSD and then reformat. Crash the Windows setup. Ah, there we go. Now we know the GPU is broken, SSD is fine. We can go ahead and reformat this, add a GPU, and now we have a working system. I open up this one and you can see some of the stuff that you'll get right here. This. But that's totally fixable. I'll show you. But first, let's test this one. Bro, whoever returned this literally got thermal paste in the RAM slots. Like, what were you doing? Gonna need some DDR5. We're gonna go ahead and use the clean RAM slots first. Let's put the CPU in the socket and see if this thing works. We'll throw in a GPU. Motherboard power. Power for the CPU. This is one of those moments that's like the do as I say, not as I do. All right, let's see if we can get boot. Gonna boot, we're not getting any flashes. It's saying there's a RAM issue, but, DDR5. Let's try this again. Make sure the CPU's cooled down. Second time's a charm. Do we have? I kept getting a DRAM issue, so I'm gonna try a different motherboard. and see if we have the same problem.
Ooh, 2 issues, CPU and RAM.
I reseated the CPU on this board. I don't know what's going on. It's acting weird, but I know it's gonna work. I just know.
Listen, you. See that? Like, why? You couldn't do it the first time. We have boot!
One of the items that came in a box is a motherboard with a CPU cooler and CPU installed. So this is a 10th gen Intel motherboard, so anything from an i3 to an i9 can be in here. So we're just gonna throw some RAM, test it, see if anything works. When testing PC components, you always wanna make sure that you have trusted sets that you know that work, AKA this RAM here. I'm just gonna assume the motherboard and CPU work. Obviously we don't know if anything works, but we're gonna test things out. CPU power. We do not know if this has integrated graphics, so we're gonna go ahead and put in a graphics card. Power up the graphics card. Well, that right there is a good sign. Let's see if it powers on. Ooh, I like where this is going. We have some lights moving around, so that's good. Let's see, it looks like we're gonna get boot. Sweet, so now we have an Intel 10900 to work with, and we can build this thing out. Follow the series if you wanna see all this stuff get tested and where it's getting sold.